Hi everyone, I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com and I'm back with another celebrity channel video. A lot of you have asked me to do this video, and I've even had people in my day-to-day life ask me to do the video, and everybody, when I run into them, asks me what happened to this musician, and I'm talking about Chris Cornell. There isn't a person I run into, if they're talking celebrities, that doesn't want to ask what happened to him and if it was really a suicide. I'm going to say right off the bat, going back to 2017, I believe it was May 18th when he passed, about 3 days after that, I had one of his musician acquaintances call me and ask me what happened to him, like what I felt happened. And the words that I uttered actually shocked me. I uttered a word that had nothing to do with him, but had to do with the situation, and basically had to do with child abuse, which was interesting because it wasn't something I wanted to say right out of my mouth, but that's what hit me. I put the subject down and didn't discuss it for a little while after. And then I started to focus on it because I wanted to connect with the energy to see what happened to him. I do not believe it was a suicide. So as I started to focus on his energy, it was really hard for me to get him to step forward in a physical sense. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I was getting more feelings with him, and he was actually quite hurt that people thought that he would kill himself. That's the energy that I picked up. This was not something he would have done. I'm not saying he didn't say it. I'm not saying he wasn't an addict at one time. I'm not even saying that he didn't have depressive and dark moods. I am saying to you that this is something he wouldn't have done. He did not commit suicide. And I'm saying that with certainty because that's how Spirit's making me feel. I feel as though this is not something he would have entertained. And actually, it's quite shocking to him. This is how it feels to me. It's quite shocking that people think that this is what he did, that people actually think that this man did it. Like, he's confused by why you guys would think that. I realize it came out in the media reports, but he's asking you to look behind that. Now, what I get around the time of his passing and 3 months prior to it, I'm being shown a map. So I'm seeing about 15 people around a big table, and there's a map of somewhere in the world or several different spots. I'm going from Caribbean countries to European countries to America. I'm going to the UK. I'm going all over this map, and there's different points, and each of the 15 people that I'm seeing around the table stand in front of one of the points on the map. So I'm taking it to be that there's approximately 15 different points on this map, which is unusual because I don't know what that represents, except they're literally different points on the map. And as I'm feeling what this map is about, there's a man that pops up who's very, I don't want to say fat, but he's sturdy, he's big, he's beefy. Okay, that's my way to describe it. Big smile on his face. He's a man of color. He's got dreads. He's laughing, he's happy, and he's showing me like a barbecue. It's like we're all at a barbecue and we're having a really great time. Now, I do not know who this person is, but he kind of pops up in front of me and he's like right there. So he's showing me the barbecue, and people are eating and kids are eating and people are talking. And then I look over in the corner and I can see men watching this barbecue, but these men are not men that are joining in. So it's like they're watching from somewhere else, or they've got their eye on this man. I cannot hear his name. I don't know who it is, but I can tell you he's smooth. Okay, so that the energy is smooth with him. That's what I want to say. He's probably very flirty, but his energy is very smooth. As I'm looking at him, I don't know where he comes from or why he's connected. I do know that he's older than Chris Cornell. I know that he's probably about 15 years older, which would make him in his mid to late 60s right now if Chris was in his early 50s when he passed. So I would put it, you know, like a 10, 12, 15 year age difference ahead. This man is definitely a musician. He's got rhythm. He's showing me around the table and the map, and he's talking about the barbecue. As I'm looking, I jump right into Chester Bennington at this point, who steps right forward. Now him, I get a very good visual visual effect with. Okay, first off the bat, he's extremely strong and focused, which is not something I necessarily thought about him when he was alive. I thought he worked very hard to become strong and focused, but in the afterlife, he's very strong and determined, and he's actually kind of pissed. He's like, I knew it. He's like, I knew it. So he's saying that his passing was something that he knew or surmised or suspected. It's like, fuck, I knew it. So he really doesn't like the fact of what happened, and it's pissing him off. I don't suppose anybody wants to pass away when they're not ready to, I guess would be the way that I would say that. But there's a little bit more to this. He's very strong. He puts his hand in front of his mouth like this, and he's telling me to be quiet, meaning they were telling him to be quiet. So there's a feeling of he was murdered. He's extremely strong. What he's showing me is, he's showing me a wire that goes into an amp or goes into, like a band member plugs in, like an amp, a guitar, a bass, something. It's being plugged in, and then he's showing me his heart. What he's saying to me, I think, is that he was electrocuted, or they electrically triggered his heart to stop. He's showing me that they tried to make it seem like he was unstable or crazy or drug addicted, which was not the case. He had no intention on killing himself. He wasn't really struggling with his addiction at the point of his death. That wasn't something he was necessarily struggling with. He's showing me that somebody like lunged at him and put their hands around his neck, but didn't actually take him out that way, but he's stunned by this person, whoever it is. I don't think he's aware that they're there. He's saying he didn't commit suicide, and he's speaking for Chris, saying neither one of us would do that. Like, he's really strong. Chris's energy is more muted. It's quieter. It's sadder. So I think he's having more of a hard time with this. When I flash back over to Chris's image, it's not even an image, it's a feeling, it's an energy over here. I get a focus on his wife and his family. He's extremely nervous for them. He was nervous for himself 3 months before he died, as if he'd received threats or somebody said something to him, like, you're gonna die, or they're gonna kill you, or you better watch it. But he fears for his wife. His paranoia at the end of his life, which is actually why he had seen a doctor to get some medicine. It wasn't that he was having trouble with addiction. He literally couldn't sleep. He was paranoid, okay? And I don't mean from drugs. I mean from something that was going on in his life. There was a feeling of, I have to look over my shoulder. I have to look over my back. I don't understand what's happening. This same paranoia he transfers over to his wife right now. So I suspect, and he's kind of making me feel that somebody went into their house and took paperwork. There's documents and paperwork that he's talking about, and I don't think he means a will, and I don't think he means like bank accounts. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's actually paperwork. There's something he's handwritten. There's something he's photographed. There's something he's put into a document form. And I feel, so this to me is like on a disc, on a stick, on a drive, on a computer. There's something that he's put aside with information on it, and his wife is in the same frame of mind that he was. He worries for her safety, like this will happen to her and his kids, almost like she's worried about this now, and that's why she's going along with the suicide mindset. It's not the real mindset. She knows different. This is what I'm being made to feel, is that she is well aware that he didn't commit suicide. This had nothing to do with him committing suicide. The whole murder scene was staged. It's not that he didn't die in the hotel room. He did, but the whole, it's a suicide, but it is a murder, is staged. It's not accurate. Everything is off about it. It's crooked. It's sideways. It's tilted. It's not true. He was aware of what was going on, but he too talks about somebody coming in from behind and somebody speaking to his face who was a friend. He's kind of letting me know that as, and then I was going to say, as we move forward and they do, they honor him at award shows, and they do commit, you know, was him, and they put a life-size picture of him behind them. He's saying somebody is eulogizing him or speaking on behalf, and it's not at his funeral. eulogizing is the wrong word. Somebody is speaking on his behalf when they honor him. That is a person who orchestrated his murder. And the word is murder. I'm being shown then the table with the map. And I'm going all over the place, and especially to England with him. So I wonder if he's connected to somebody in England, or he gave the paperwork or the disc or whatever to somebody in England, because that's exactly where I'm being shown. As I'm looking around at that, he's showing me that somebody spoke to his face, and the person that spoke to him actually turned on him. And so what it feels like to me is the people that murdered him got to him under the guise of being friends. So this was somebody that he was friendly with, acquainted with, and I feel like that's actually what was happening at the time that he passed. Now I go right back over to Chester, who stands really strong. There was abuse that he spoke about. I think we all know this, or if you followed Lincoln Park, you know this. But there was abuse in childhood with him. He overcame it. He's strong. He's not weak. It's what he says. He does not want you to think he's weak. We didn't think he was weak, but this is something inside of him. He's speaking from the child point, but he's actually really pissed. And he's saying they didn't want me to speak. He was speaking up about something. He then flashes to his mother. His mother to me looks like a mother, like she's older. But she looks like somebody who is kind of at the moment avoiding or evasive about everything. So she's not really speaking. She's acting as though her son took his own life, and she knows this isn't true. There's 4 of them in her home, and there's 4 of them that discuss it, and his mother knows. Okay, so she knows. Now, whether she chooses to speak about it or chooses to say it or can say it is a different story. Chester's wife and kids know that he didn't kill himself. That's not even an issue. It's flat off not on the table. He is, as I've said, different than Chris. And then the man comes in with the dreadlocks and kind of starts, he's a dynamic. He's a happy, gregarious man, and he keeps showing me this barbecue. They're talking at the barbecue. They're talking about things that they're doing. They're doing a project together. There's other people at this barbecue. There's a lighter-haired man. I see Chester there. I see Chris there. Everybody is talking about the barbecue, and when I snap like this in my head, I realize this man has passed over too. So he is basically connecting around the table and telling me, making me feel, that's what I mean by telling, it's not like I'm hearing the wording right now, making me feel as though there are more people that actually have passed away, been murdered as a result of this. He's saying he's been over on the other side for quite some time. I'm going through 2 presidents with him. He's kind of showing me who was in office at the time of his passing. I'm going through 3 presidents, actually. I'm going through Obama, I'm going through Bush, and I'm going through Clinton. He's connecting like this. It's like he's got a needle and he's sewing the 3 together. So I'm assuming that he was working on some sort of project during those 3 administrations. This is kind of what he's showing me. Since Obama was in office until the new president got in, I'm assuming he passed away sometime during that time. So when I'm looking at it, I'm seeing this chain of events. Now, what I do see is he directs my attention to this map again. And it's like I'm looking for treasure, but it isn't treasure. It's information. He's saying it's being spoken about. It's information. Everybody's looking for this information. It makes me feel like it's a computer chip, a computer disk, paperwork, video. There is something. Everybody's looking for it. This is what it feels like. Everybody's on this map. I go straight to little kids of color, Caribbean kids. I want to go to Brazil with this. So I want to connect this map to Brazil. That's the first place. And then I want to go over to England. I want to keep going from Brazil to England. And then I want to go this way. So I want to go to some little off the way countries, off of England, off of Italy, off of Greece. I want to go along those lines, and I want to look into these countries, but Brazil is extremely prominent when it comes to this. This happy-go-lucky man with the dreadlocks is shaking his head as I'm talking right now as if I'm getting off track on something. But what he's saying is it's off track, okay? So the map is showing something that you wouldn't look for on a map, okay? So what's on a map? Location, roads, distance point. He's saying the map is showing something else. Chester's wife is not afraid. I don't know why I'm saying that right now. Chris's wife is afraid. So I feel like a lot of the problem is stemming from Chris's wife, as if something was given to him or he had access to something. Because when I'm looking, it's not that you don't have to be afraid when murder's involved, but when I look at Chester's family, it feels protected. When I look at Chris's family, I'm worried about it. I'm worried about whether they're safe and what's happening. So there's something going on in his family, with his wife, with his kids, that he is still very, very focused on, okay? So very focused. These men are still working, except for the man at the barbecue who is laughing and joking, but kind of comes up at the same time, says, almost like, I want you to hear this, or I want you to pay attention. I want you to hear this. So there's these 15 people around this table, and it's like I'm supposed to be listening, but I can see them talking. I look at the bottom and I believe I'm seeing, oh, okay, interesting. I'm seeing Chris's hands on the table, not him, the hands, and they're turned up like this. And what I'm seeing is some kind of a brand or mark on the hands. So there was a mark put onto his hands. I haven't read that anywhere, and I don't know what was in the autopsy, but there was a mark that was, I'll use the word branded or carved or put into the hand area. This to me is also like, I put that out there, like, I hang you out to dry. It feels like that. So there was something that was either carved or branded into him. I would almost use the word like a tattoo, but that's not what it was. It wasn't something you do to get on your body or to get on yourself. I get that. So there was a distinguishing mark. I feel like Chris's death was a warning to Chester, and I feel like the man with the dreadlocks' death, although he's telling me that it doesn't look like a murder, so he probably just died of something that we wouldn't even question. I'm trying to get what he died of. Okay, it feels like some sort of an infection. Like, this is like, I'm worried, I've got a cold, I've got an infection, I don't feel well, I've got pain between here, and suddenly I'm unconscious kind of thing. So that seems like some sort of cold, infection, fungus. I want to word that. I want to say the word fungus, actually, is what I want to say. There's something along those lines. The other thing that I'm seeing in reference to this is his passing was some time ago. So there's been a long stretch because he's more acclimated in the area. He's more open, he's more talkative, he's more calm. So to me, he's been over there a lot more, but the look on his face is sadness that his friends, and these were his friends. He was friends with a lot of musicians. He was a musician himself. He shows me that he plays several instruments, and he's really kind of irritated that I don't know who he is. That's not uncommon. Sometimes I don't know who my neighbors are, and I walk by them every day, but unless I'm like focused. But he's smooth. If he is rock and roll, it's not quite the same as Chester, and it's not the same as Chris. It's different. It's different. It's smoother is how I want to word this. He's been passed for quite some time, and there's a connection between these three men. There is also a fourth man that is on this side, and what the man, the heavy-set man who I take to be in his mid-60s, possibly closer to 70, what he's showing me actually is the reason that he passed had to do with money. Now, when you think of money, I'm thinking, well, how are you making money? If you're a musician, you make a lot of money, and that's a good thing. But he's not telling me that. He's saying what he was saying, what he was singing, okay, and I'm not sure he's a singer, but what he was saying was costing somebody a lot of money. So he's kind of directing my attention to higher up people in the music industry that would lose money by what he was saying. So, and I don't get the feeling that's actually off his back, as in, we know with entertainers, they are worth big money, especially when they make big money. They get like kind of, you know, handled because they have money. We're not talking about this. This is different. This is something he was saying was going to cost somebody a lot of money. And I feel like Chester was very vocal about this. I actually feel like it goes towards child abuse. I keep getting images of children. There's many children at this barbecue. These are children on the other side. Interesting, the man with the dreadlocks is showing me that he was having a barbecue when he was alive. He may mean that he was relaxing, or it was a holiday weekend or something along those lines, because it keeps showing me the barbecue and what's on the barbecue, or he's just really hungry. I'm kidding. But there's a lot of kids standing around him right now. These kids are on the other side. These kids have dark little faces, you know, Caribbean countries, Mexican countries, Indian countries, that kind of skin color. So there's an olive and darker tone to it. These little kids are all around him. And I mean, as I keep looking down, there's more and more kids stepping up and coming around him. 30 deep, 40 deep, 50 deep, kids in circles around him, all different looking. Some kids, the heavyset man that I'm seeing is showing me the barbecue, and he's showing me these kids. They keep standing behind him. These are kids on the other side, and he's showing me many kids. Like there's 30 kids, there's 40 kids, there's taller kids, there's baby kids, there's toddler kids, kids that are 8, 9, and 6. The majority of the age, I would say, of the kids that I see around the barbecue is probably from age 6 to 8, right, 5, 6, 7, 8, right in that age range. That's the majority of them, because they're walking up and they're standing around. They have smiles on their face. He watches them, or he is with them. On the other side is Chester and Chris, and Chester is speaking strongly. He did not kill himself. Neither did Chris. You know this. This is what he's saying. You know this. So I'm seeing this message. It's coming through really strongly. And again, I go back to the map. So I'm going to have to actually meditate and do another video on what this map is, because I have no idea at the moment. I'm just seeing it, and I'm seeing everybody stand around this. Once again, my name is Sloan.